Eddie Jones praises France's power, but identifies where Les Bleus looked ordinary. Against Ireland, France emphatic 36-14 victory over Ireland in their Six Nations opener at the Stade de France was widely hailed as a statement performance. A reminder, if one was needed, of the depth, power, and attacking sophistication now embedded within Fabien Galthier's side. 5 tries. Relentless gain-line dominance and near-total control of the aerial contest saw Les Bleus overwhelm Andy Farrell's Ireland, particularly in a one-sided first half that effectively decided the contest. Yet despite the convincing scoreline and long spells of French superiority, former Wallabies head coach Eddie Jones believes the performance was not flawless. In his post-match analysis on the Rugby Unity Podcast, Jones praised France's strengths but also highlighted moments where they looked surprisingly ordinary, particularly when they failed to dominate physically or ceded momentum after mass substitutions. Joined by fellow former Australia coach Ewan McKenzie, Jones delivered a nuanced breakdown that acknowledged France's brilliance while pointing to areas that Ireland, or future opponents, may yet exploit. France set the tone early from the opening exchanges in Paris. France imposed themselves in precisely the areas Jones later identified as decisive: the aerial battle, the set piece, and the gain line. Ireland were repeatedly forced onto the back foot as France's contestable kicking game, led by Thomas Ramos and Antoine Dupont, rained pressure onto the Irish back three. The home side consistently won the crumbs, regaining possession or forcing errors, and that dominance translated directly into scoreboard pressure. Jones highlighted this as the first and most influential factor in the match. "Three things to come out of the game for me," Jones said. Again, the influence of the contestable kicks. It seemed like in the first half, France won all the crumbs from contestable kicks and therefore had the flow of the game and were able to score a considerable number of points. With front foot ball secured, France were able to unleash their attacking structure, combining direct carries with fluid offloading and excellent support lines. Ireland's defensive line, already under strain, struggled to reset quickly enough to cope by halftime. The damage was done. Rhythm, flow, and a rarely interrupted contest. Jones' second observation focused not on tactics, but on the nature of the contest itself. In an era where games are often fragmented by lengthy TMO interventions, he felt this match, particularly in the opening hour, benefited from an unusual sense of rhythm. Second thing, up until the last 10 minutes, it was almost a joy to watch with little TMO at the end, Jones said. "We had a little bit more TMO, and I thought the game flowed really well. There was a nice rhythm to the game. That rhythm suited France perfectly. Their ability to play at speed, recycle quickly, and keep the ball alive flourishes when the contest remains uninterrupted. Ireland, conversely, were unable to slow the tempo or disrupt France's momentum through stoppages or tactical resets. When France get momentum, their devastating." Jones' third takeaway addressed France at their best, moments when their blend of physical dominance and skill execution made them almost unplayable. And the third was France, when they're able to get any sort of momentum, they really played some beautiful rugby. He said, "Their ability to keep the ball moving, their support lines, their offloading in the tackle, it was really good rugby to watch." That description captured the essence of Galthier's France, a team capable of combining brute force with finesse. Ball carriers consistently won collisions, freeing arms in contact and creating opportunities for runners flooding through the line. The result was a series of tries that showcased both structure and spontaneity, hallmarks of a side comfortable in its identity. The moment France looked ordinary, yet despite his praise, Jones was quick to point out that France's dominance was not constant. The former England coach believes that when France failed to control the aerial contest or were denied momentum of the gain line, they looked far less imposing. Conversely, when they weren't able to do that, they looked pretty ordinary, Jones observed. Those moments tended to come later in the match, as Ireland clawed back some respectability with 2 consolation tries in the final quarter. While the outcome was never in doubt, France's grip on the contest loosened noticeably. It was a reminder that even the most powerful teams rely heavily on their foundations. Once those are disrupted, Their edge can dull. McKenzie echoes Jones' assessment. Ewan McKenzie largely agreed with Jones' conclusions, particularly regarding Ireland's inability to adapt and France's attacking efficiency when playing on their terms. McKenzie was also struck by the limited influence of match officials for much of the contest, something he viewed as a positive. My thoughts are similar to Eddie's. I was actually impressed by the lack of influence the referees were having in the game until it got a bit messy in the last 15 minutes, McKenzie said. That lack of interruption allowed France to execute with clarity and confidence, reinforcing Jones' point about rhythm and flow. France's subtle tactical evolution beyond the headline dominance. McKenzie was particularly interested in how France subtly evolved their attacking approach, especially from set piece. France's ability to straighten the attack and to use just hands across the board means they're able to play very straight and use every person to be able to create the overlap, he explained. Their wingers profited from that. More intriguingly, McKenzie identified a tweak in France's use of forwards from short lineouts, an area often overlooked but tactically significant. More tactically interesting, I was looking for things that were different from maybe last year, he said. France played their forwards much wider off their short lineouts. That adjustment stretched Ireland's defensive structure and created unexpected passing options in wider channels. Michael Gillard, their number 5, was outstanding in terms of ball carries, McKenzie added. But that third try, they had a second rower passing to the second rower out wide. That was off broken play, but they played their forwards much wider off short lineouts and then played back from that. It was a subtle shift, but one that underlined France's growing tactical sophistication. Most teams play their forwards a bit closer to the lineout, McKenzie noted. Ireland run out of ideas while France impressed. McKenzie was far less complimentary about Ireland's attacking approach. He felt Farrell's side lacked variety and became increasingly predictable as the game wore on. Ireland looked a bit predictable. To be honest, he said, they didn't have a lot of ways to score except for just playing very directly, denied front football, and struggling to win aerial contests. Ireland found themselves unable to unlock France's defense through creativity or deception. Instead, their play became narrow and reactive as frustration grew. McKenzie observed a shift in Ireland's mindset. In the end, they were just reverting to try and be spoilers at the back of rucks and things like that, he said. So there wasn't much going on. It was a damning assessment of a side renowned in recent years for its clarity and composure. Second-half drop-off raises questions despite France's overall dominance. McKenzie also identified a concerning trend, a noticeable loss of control following wholesale substitutions. France were pretty good all round, he said. They just had 30 minutes off in the second half when they put their replacements on. They just seemed to lose momentum. Ireland capitalized on that lull to score twice, highlighting a potential vulnerability in France's bench cohesion rather than its depth. While the tries did little to alter the narrative of the match, they reinforced Jones' earlier point. France are devastating when dominant, but not untouchable when denied momentum. A performance both dominant and instructive ultimately. Jones and McKenzie's analysis painted a balanced picture. France were rightly praised for their aerial supremacy, attacking fluency and tactical evolution. At the same time, their second-half fade and reliance on physical dominance offered useful lessons for future opponents. For Ireland, the defeat raised more questions than answers about adaptability, creativity, and how to respond when Plan A is shut down. For France, the message was equally clear. When their foundations are secure, they remain rugby's most formidable force. When they are not, even briefly, cracks can appear in a Six Nations already shaping up to be fiercely competitive. Jones' verdict served as both commendation and caution, a reminder that dominance is rarely absolute, and that perfection remains elusive even for the best.